Peace, family. Peace. It is the Hoodmystic, representing www.hoodmystic.com. Get this mic close. So, couple of things going on with me presently. Just first things first. We're having a baby, and so this is really what's happening right now. My wife is going through pre-labor. I've been giving her a lot of my attention, so emails, Patreon, things like that. It's not like I'm forgetting about it. It's just that my wife deserves a majority of my attention, and I was not going to do this video, but we've already discussed this, and she has insisted that I continue doing the live. So I'm not going to try. This is probably not going to be a long video. I'm just going to really speak and deal with this message and bring it to the light for people who need it, because I realize my message isn't just for me. And even though I go through things, even though I'm faced with certain shit, it don't mean that the message stopped. So my wife understands that. I'm appreciative of her. I hope that you guys are appreciative of her as well, and our new child that we're welcoming into the world very soon. So thank you for everyone's patience with me. I know I haven't been the best communicator lately. Just want to thank you guys. And what I would say, if these messages and things that are going on, it's very important that you guys have a pen and paper as we discuss what's going on astrologically, spiritually, because that'll help you with getting through these videos. If for a second you think that like it's not interesting or it's not entertaining enough, well, I'm not really trying to be entertaining. I'm really not trying to be entertaining or interesting. I'm trying to give information. So it's important for you guys to have your pen and your paper and really write down these aspects, write down things that register with you. Throughout this presentation, I kind of pause so people can kind of catch up with their notes and things like that. But we have to be so intuitive with our spirituality and so applicable with our spirituality that you should never be passive. When it comes to your spirituality, you should always be active. And so the title of the series of videos this week, thank you guys, thank you. The title for this series of this week is called The War on Loneliness. And this is part 1 to the War of Loneliness. Tomorrow we'll do a part 2 to the War on Loneliness, and then we're going to discuss different aspects and certain ideologies based upon astrology that can kind of give us a solution or a resolution to our loneliness. I really feel that astrologically we could explain a lot of things in our lives, and so that's what I try to do. I don't just try to simply go through the astrology and be like, okay, the moon is opposed Chiron, blah blah blah. I try to figure out what the astrology is trying to say, and really I really feel like there needs to be an attack towards loneliness. And loneliness happens in our relationships, loneliness happens in our homes, loneliness happens in our workplace, in our relationships with our family members. You know, whether you're a child, whether you're in your 30s, whether you're in your 60s, loneliness affects you. And so the sun always comes in like this real strong, but we still gonna get through the message. So like I said, make sure you have a pen and paper. Don't worry about me, worry about what I'm saying, worry about how it's resonating with you. And now think about things that you can begin to do to take affirmative action with this energy. And so today is Monday. We're going to be really dealing with the moon and really setting the tone for the war on terrorism. I said the war on terrorism, the war on loneliness. And then tomorrow we'll really bring it to light when we'll discuss Mars and the Grand Cross and in full detail. But today we're just going to set the tone and really figure out where we are subconsciously with the moon. Okay. And so we have the moon in Libra. Right now, the moon is probably in Virgo, but in between now and 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the moon will move into Virgo. So we're analyzing, we're realizing the things that we need to do. And then as the moon progresses into Virgo, we need to fully understand, as it progresses into Libra, we need to fully understand how we can begin to connect with other people. Because we fully need to understand, if we are not connecting to others, then we're dealing with some form of loneliness, some form of isolation, and that's not necessarily good. In this society, in this culture, if you grow up in the West, then it's perfectly fine to isolate yourself. If you can pay your rent, you could take care of yourself, then 9 times out of 10, you isolate yourself because you don't want to deal with people, and people got their shit and this, that, and the third. But what I want us to try to do is try to look deeper and beyond just simply going to work, coming home, going to sleep, eating a little bit, in between that. We have to realize that cycle is not healthy. We have to realize that cycle is not normal. We have to realize that this spirituality, even though we found it within ourselves, by ourselves, it does not stay there. It has to be fully cultivated and fully expressed out. And that's why people get so thrown off when soon as we start to discover something, we start to talk about it. And they're like, man, shut up with that shit. I don't want to hear that shit. That's just a natural expression. And the more that people say, shut up, I don't want to hear that conscious shit. Let them say it. But what you're trying to do is formulate your conscious interior. And even if you can't connect with people, you have to keep working. You have to keep trying. Like, this is me, Of course, I've had this page for 2 years. For a majority of this page, nobody listened. But that wasn't a reflection of the people. That was a reflection of me. The more work that I began to do with myself, the more that I could understand my spirituality, the more I've learned to connect with other people. And this is so vital to my success, to my family success, to my overall life path of connecting with good people. It wasn't never, even though I've spent a lot of time by myself, that time wasn't for me to just spend my lifetime by myself. That was just a period. That was just a phase. And now I'm coming out of it. And through that, I'm connecting with others. And that's ultimately the point of life, whether we know it or not. We are all one. This idea of individuals is an illusion that we tend to fall deep into. So where do you connect with other people? The moon is directly opposed Chiron, or will be throughout the day. Chiron is in Aries, which is that initiative, that journey towards healing. And how do we get on that journey towards healing? With this opposition, we have to begin to understand that we have to get over our wounds, because Chiron is the wounded healer. And the wounded healer being in Aries taking that step to say, look at these wounds, I need to heal myself. And we're not just gonna do that so we can stunt and brag to people of how good we healed our wounds. We're doing this simply because we need to show up in our relationships better. We need to show up in our relationships as more of a tool, more of a way to be used, more to help this ship going. We can't be like trying to join groups and hoping that group is carrying us along the way. We might be that major cog in that group. But how do we know what we can present to that group if we haven't done the inner work? Very important shit. And this can read in many different ways for many different people. The moon is also trine Mars, where this concept or this setup, because Mars plays an important pivotal role in this grand cross based upon its transition from Capricorn to Aquarius and being the pivotal cog towards this grand cross that we'll talk in full detail tomorrow. But as of now, it is simply setting up the fight. Moon trine Mars. The war on your personal loneliness. Where are you lonely at? And just because you got friends, and just because you got family, and just because, you know, those events that you throw be popping, and, you know, you're very social and things of that nature, does not mean that you're not lonely. Because when we deal with loneliness, we're first talking about an inner relationship. And if we can't deal with the fact that when we're alone, we're not alone, then we simply have different voids that we tend to feel different ways, where it's drugs or where it's addiction, where it's food, where it's sex, where it's TV, anything to make us not think about the fact that we're so lonely or the fact that we're still hurt. And so as we begin to set the tone, and we continue to set the tone rather, the moon is square Saturn. So all of this energy is square Saturn, where we have limits. We have things about our lives that we simply can't do. And if we're in the air and we're thinking, then we have no limits there. We can do all types of shit when we're in our minds. I could be a mathematician slash hip hop artist that, you know, saves babies on the side. You know, I could do all of this shit in my mind, but when it really happens, because, you know, in my mind, I was thinking I could do this, I could do that. But then when this baby start to come, then there's other stuff that happens that, you know, you can't really predict. And so that is no more air, it's now earth. Where I can't do all the shit that I want to do. I can only simply focus on my wife now. In my mind, I figured it would be like this, it'd be like that, or whatever. I had many different things, of many different ways this present time could play out. But it only played out one certain way based upon the earth. And so when the moon squares Saturn, it's simply showing you where you're at, so you can begin to take action. You don't see where you're at, so you can begin to be like, oh, this is scary. Oh, this is bad. I don't know what to do about this. Even though you deal with situations like that. An example, like we literally stayed up all night based upon these contractions, and there's nothing that we can do about it. It's pre-labor. So only thing that I can do is think about different ways to make my wife comfortable, as opposed to, you know, thinking I could do this, thinking I could do that, or all these different types of ideas that we have. They're really not serving us when it comes to the moon square Saturn, because right now we wake up into a terrestrial world where we all have limits, and we look at those limits and we say, I'm depressed about those limits. Let me go back into my mind. Let me go back into my air where there are no limits. But even though you're there in that space where there is no limits, you are not taking any action either. So this cycle goes on for too long. You've developed a cycle of loneliness that you don't even know how to get out of. because that air is so comfortable and so freeing, and you can do this. You're a god, you're a goddess, you're all of this wonderful shit. But if you don't bring this shit down to Saturn and know that, okay, none of us are flying, none of us are running forever, none of us are staying up, you know, we all have to sleep, we all have to drink water, all of these things that happen in our lives. How can we incorporate our air from, like, you have to learn how to funnel this shit down into one healthy human expression, as opposed to having a million ideas up in the air, because the moon is in Libra, which represents the air, and all of these different things that you possibly could do, but you can't do all of the shit. You can't do all of the shit, and 9 times out of 10 you'll be able to do 1 to 2 things. If you're a good multitasker, maybe you could do 5 things. And that's extreme and that's rare, but for the most of us, we could do 1 to 2 things. And I do want to say, if anybody has any advice to dealing with pre-labor contractions, please let us know, because it takes a village to raise a child. That is our foundation, that is our company, and this is something that we believe in. Right now, we have 2 other children that, you know, are being taken care of, and we're grateful for that. You know, all of this, like, if it was just based upon me, then I don't know what the fuck I wouldn't be able to do shit, because I can't handle everything. I can handle a lot, but I can't handle everything. So where can we begin to connect with others so we could deal with our lives? We have children, and sometimes we dedicate a majority of our lives to our children and and we don't develop, you know, our sense of self. And so what can we begin to do about that? We need to learn to connect with other people, set up networks of, you know, people that you can trust to raise your children, because you need yourself, and you can't deal with yourself if you don't deal with other people. This is very key. And so we need to attack this energy. We need to be strong with this energy. This is what I'm gonna just bring up a conversation that I had recently with a friend who was talking about, like, these daily lives, and she imagined that these daily lives just brought in so much attention from the outside, when I'm saying not necessarily. I look at my analytics, and these lives only generate a conversation with the subscribers that I already had. And I simply say that to say that when you have a community and that community can begin to communicate, then that's what we're trying to strive to do. We just want to begin to talk to each other again, because we haven't been talking to each other. And so that's why I did these lives. I didn't do these lives so I could get new people in, even though I say share and things like that. I just say share because I realize that shit, it ain't even like no new subscribers really. It's just people that been here that's into the information. But now we're beginning to talk to each other. And so if there's anything, I hope that if there's anything that this channel could do, I hope that you've met somebody on the chat, or, you know, below in the other chat, where you be like, whoa, we connect on that. You know what I'm saying? Let me get your email. Let's talk. You know, if I can contribute to that, then I feel like I'm successful. If I contributed to one positive relationship, I feel like this work is successful, because what I do realize, what does hurt me in real life, is that people don't talk to each other. When I go outside or anything like that, like I don't necessarily have conversations as much as I would like. And so that's why we do this stuff on YouTube and things like that. And so can we balance our emotions? Can we begin to do the things that we need to do in relationships to other people? We can't just be like, oh, something is wrong with them. Something is wrong with them. I can't talk to them. I can't build with them. I can't do shit with them because something is wrong with them. At a certain point, at a certain level, If you not there yet, just say you ain't there yet. But at a certain level, you gotta realize that something is wrong with you. And if something is wrong with them, what is the solution? Can we begin to discuss solutions? Can we begin to help each other? Can we begin to enlighten each other? And not for the sake of ego, just for the sake of, this is just what I do. This is just what I do. This is part of my expression. And so the moon sextile the North Node is really setting its tone for the war on loneliness. We don't want to stay in this state of loneliness. We don't want to stay in this state of isolation, because the North Node is progressing into Cancer, and we were simply taking this North Node energy, being by ourselves, being in this state of solitude. We should have been enlightening ourselves, inflaming ourselves with knowledge. Because as the North Node transits into Cancer, that is connection, that is family. And what I've noticed about Cancer when I do readings is not necessarily home family, your mama and them. Cancer is like your celestial, spiritual family that you need to figure out deep within inside of yourself. And when you find this energy out deep within inside of yourself, by default, you start to link with people. By default, you start getting friends. We can't be just trying to link up with the same old people, getting the same old shit, trying to figure out what the problem is. And so really, I hope that I did a good job of setting the tone with the moon and its different aspects. I want to touch on Venus real quick. Venus is in conjunct Chiron, and so you see that like parallel line with Jupiter trine Neptune, and then you see Venus in conjunct Chiron. As Venus transits into Scorpio, where she gets to see the totality of all things, the good, the bad, and the ugly. When we experience that bad shit, when we experience that shit that really hurts us, that ugly stuff, do you know that it's your responsibility to heal that and move forward from that? We can't simply keep those wounds fresh. It's like you guys are protecting those wounds, keeping them fresh, picking the scabs, making sure the blood is oozing out of it, and you just won't let it heal. You won't do the proper work for it to heal. You keeping it rough, you keeping it tender to the touch, and we need to really heal this. And if you don't know how to heal it, you really need to look into it and stop looking for voids or existential things to make you feel better in that moment. See, what I'm talking about, what I'm trying to build upon, is a good feeling that you can have forever in all circumstances. And even though shit ain't how you absolutely want it to be, internally you're able to deal with it, and you realize that, okay, I can't do this shit by myself. I can't do this alone. And so what society, what this government, what this world has done, it has tricked you into thinking that you could do all of this shit by yourself. And the reality is that you just simply can't. So you need to figure out how it is you're gonna show up in these relationships, in these business partnerships, so y'all can get the bag, so y'all can get movement, because it gotta be us, it gotta be we. If it's all about you and it's all about me and it's all about I, then you at the wrong channel, friend. You are on the wrong channel. You are on the wrong channel. Even though this is an individual sport, we not individual sport people, so we can live our lives as individual sport people. We're trying to be our best self so we can be the best cog on a situation. Or we could just do all this shit by ourselves, live isolated, and be perfectly happy. I know it's people like that, but I'm telling you, you are on the wrong channel. And Venus square Mars finally. Venus square Mars finally. If you are hurt on the inside and you got some healing to do, then you don't know what you want. Let me repeat that. If you hurting on the inside and you got some healing to do, then you don't know what you want. All you know that you want is healing, because once you get that healing, the things that you think you want, you're not gonna want them. So heal first, then you'll figure out what you want. That's this Venus square Mars energy. Very key to understand. I couldn't fully prepare and plan today, so we got the little slideshow. But what we would do is go old school on y'all one time. Back in the days, a couple of months ago. So we got the universe. And the universe is ruled by Saturn. Fully realizing that you are always there, you will always be there, you'll never disappear, you'll always have this consciousness. Let's break this thing down one time and one time only. Not one time, we'll break this shit down again in the future, but we'll break this shit down again. Life is set up very simply. There is consciousness, there is energy, and then there's matter. You are consciousness. You are in control. Your consciousness has been usurped and tricked and flipped into this body. And so since your consciousness goes straight to your body, it overrides the energy. But you need to abstract all of this energy and realize that you are consciousness. This matter, this body is controlled by your consciousness. If your consciousness is like, I'm hurt, I'm sad, I don't feel good, I just want to get high, I just want to have sex, I just want to escape, then your consciousness is not even fully attached to the ethers or to the cosmos. Your consciousness is attached to your body, and that's the problem. The universe is fully realizing that, oh, I'm outside of this spectrum. And so once you realize you're outside of this spectrum, it's your responsibility to take control of your energy. Build your energy, deal with your energy, and see where that manifests. The Prince of this. We're taking initiative and we have a real true sense of reality. We know our limits. And we know our limits, not for the sake to make us feel bad. We know our limits. We know where we need to go. And there's a difference between limits and structure. Structure will save your damn life. Limits are your ignorance to what those limits are. What's an example of that? We have a furnace in the bottom of our home. The structure needed through the vent system transmutes the heat throughout the whole entire home as needed. If we just had that heater without the structure of the vent, then we would be freezing in the wintertime. So once we understand that, once we put structure to this energy that we're building, then that's smart. And we have a real sense of reality. And it's like, why are you creating those vents? You're limiting yourself. It's like, no, I'm just trying to direct this energy to where I want it to go. Very important. Where are we at? The Ace of Wands. Truly following your passion. We are simply living a life based on obligation and fear. We're afraid of losing our homes. We're afraid of what people are going to say about us. We're afraid of what people are going to think about us. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'll never leave my husband. He had been too good to me. I'll never leave my wife. We got all these kids together. All of these different obligations. And when it comes to our passion, we're like, forget that. I don't care about that. Have y'all ever seen Coco? It's kind of like that. Where we have to begin to do the thing that resonates with our souls. Or what else? Like, if we're not resonating with our true self, then we're simply resonating with an illusion, and we're following that illusion, and we're getting what we got. And you get a short burst of good feeling, and then after that, nothing. So we deal with our soul for full alignment, full guidance, full assistance, and we really override our problems in our lifetime. The Queen of Cups. I had another conversation with my friend where we discussed the Holy Grail. And real, like on the slide, she was asking me about like elements and things of that nature. And I talked about all of the elements, but I dealt with water last because I know water is the most important element to our whole entire being. And water is what's slowing us up and was dealing with us and was messing with us now. We don't have that clarity of emotions. Our emotions are that of anger, you know, confusion, distortion. These are our real emotions. And if I was to really get on you and get into the core of you, I could easily trigger you and make you upset and make you mad. Because that's a reflection of your emotional field and frequency. And this is something that I do every single day, is try to realize and show people that you upset, you're mad, you're angry. You need to do something about that. How do I know? Because I could just easily pull it out of you by saying something, you know, out the side of my neck, and it just piss you off to all pistivity. You think that's something wrong with me. You think that I'm messing with you. And you never think to yourself that, damn, I'm messing with myself because I still have this anger. I still have this cup that hasn't been washed out and refilled. I have this same dirty cup of water. And so say for instance, when we deal with people, we have to begin to share each other's cup. You can understand why people don't want to go around people no more, because if we got to share each other's cup, then it's like, damn, Shireen, what you got in this cup? Like, what you been doing? No, Shireen, we ain't gonna do this. You need to go home and do some cleansing first. Come back after you cleanse, and then we'll begin to share our cups with each other. Now imagine for 1 second that you're in a sister circle, or you in a sister group, or you in a men's group, and those men or women aren't doing the clarity work, and by default, by law, you got to share each other's cup. And that means you'll be sipping on some shit that you ain't got no business sipping on. So that's why it's so important to do this clear work. Even for the fact of, if you're clear and you sip somebody's cup and it's dirty, then you realize like, oh, I can't deal with this cup. I can't deal with this person. If you're not clear, then you might not even realize and keep drinking that person's cup. And then all of a sudden you realize, you know, it's even dirtier. So it's a tough analogy and a tough thing to understand the Queen of Cups. But ultimately, are you easily triggered? Have you refreshed and replenished your emotional field? And if not, this would be something that you need to look into. Finishing up, the Two of Wands, Dominion. Dominion or domination or anything to that effect really speaks about overcoming that initial fear. It's like, I don't want to deal with that person because XYZ. Well, that's fear, sis. That's fear, bro. You got to overcome that. You know, this is Mars and Aries. Ain't nothing about Mars and Aries. Like, let me think about it for a second. I wonder if, you know, let me just chill for a second and ponder upon this for us. No, Mars and Aries is the opposite of that, is going full force ahead. And if you can't do that, if you can't just go full force ahead, full throttle towards what you want, then you dealing with a level of fear, and that fear needs to be overcome. And so we talked about all of this for the source, or for the reason for all of this energy, the Empress. You know, when you deal with this earth energy, you have to be open for change. You have to believe that a rose is going to grow up out of the ground because I planted this seed. And if I just water it and cultivate it, maybe a seed will grow out of this. But who plants seeds, you know, and comes back the next day and it's a whole flower blooming? If you do that, please send me the link. We need to be friends, because as far as I know, growth and development and cultivation is a process. It's a subtle, hard, difficult process if you don't know it. But once you do know it, once you get the hang of it, then you understand that, okay, these are how roses grow. I'll do this every 3 or 4 months or so and get me some new fresh roses. I know how to garden now. But if you never gardened before, it's like, damn, how did that happen? Or you just go up and snatch roses and shit. It'd be way more powerful, way more important if you learn how to garden and function and deal with your garden yourself. You know, I think that as well, that's going to be the title of the video on Friday, The Secret Garden, as we begin to deal with this war on loneliness. So I hope this message resonated with you. As far as the readings and my contact and things of that nature, I'm gonna probably get off this live and pay attention to my wife. I have other shit that I need to, other responsibilities that I need to kind of work out and figure out as we go through this process. So please give us patience and things of that nature. I'm gonna be here delivering this message the way I've always delivered it, and try to deliver it a little bit better, a little bit clearer, just so that people can understand it, and understand this energy and apply this energy in their lives, in their people's lives. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for being patient with me. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the positive feedback. Make sure you guys are conversating with each other, communicating with each other, building those relationships, because, you know, if you're not lonely, if you are lonely, what are we going to begin to do with it? This was just a setup video. Tomorrow we're going to go full into it as we discuss Mars and its transits and things of that nature. But once again, deepest gratitude to this family. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But I got other shit to do. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Peace, man, from the Hood Mystic.